Brady Ministries International is a nonprofit 501c3 organization. Your tax-deductible donations may be sent to the address on our website, edbradyradio.com, edbradyradio.com. Thanks, and may God bless you for your support and for your prayers.
Ed Brady.
The words are the words. And it says God is the Word and the Word is of God. So they're synonymous. When you say the Word, it's Jesus. When you say the Word, it's God. When you say God, it's the Word. You know, God is love, love is God. So the thing is that they're not separate. That's one thing. So if you're using the Word, it's going to take a life of its own, because that's what God has. That's the creative force of faith.
You get what you say.
That is the creative force of faith. And you use words. And it says, say to the mountain, and don't forget the mountain is whatever your need is. Finances, healing, relationships, that's your mountain. Whatever the enemy put in your way that's not having you at peace, that's causing you a problem, that's where you know it's not God. Because see, the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but God comes to give you life, and life more abundantly. Well, if you're not in abundance, then that means the enemy is messing in your life. And see, it says, remember how many times I've always said, because the educator in me says, people perish for lack of knowledge. If you don't know a thing, you can't do it. You know, I remember I grew up and I'd have people would say, well, ignorance is bliss. Well, ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance can be death. You see how the world says it one way, and that's why it says the heaven is a different way going. And didn't you hear it? The world's way of saying it is probably just the opposite of what's the truth. And that's what's so odd. And we fall into that without even knowing it, because it's so natural for us. And that's why building your faith is not the natural thing to do. Because the fall of man caused us to not live in the easy, the way we were supposed to, just flow in peace and flow in prosperity and flow in abundance. Well, when that happened and you had the fall, we have a natural, remember we talked about your default button, like on the computer, defaults back. Well, if we don't watch it, our default button is to go to the negative, is to go to what the natural man says. And so if we see ourselves doing that, we're going, oh, I got to stop that. And we have to, I had that sign I always put up, my kids stop and think. If we can start to see what's happening around us, we've got to stop. And we have to choose it. We have to be deliberate and intentional. Because if we just go with the flow, what is the natural flow of man going to lead us to?
Toward pain.
It's going to lead us toward all the negative. It's going to lead towards death. And so we have to intentionally do something different. And that phrase that says, taking all things as captive, that is so important. All words captive. Things that are not according to what God says. What does that mean? It's taking them captive. We've got to realize, oh my gosh, that's what I'm saying. Oh my goodness, I'm not listening to God. We've got to start being aware of what we're seeing and what we're hearing. That's why we say what we're seeing, our eye gate, our ear gate, what we're seeing and hearing, who we're seeing, who we're listening to. That's so important, because if we're not if those things that we're listening to and seeing are not bringing life to us and giving us peace, we need to start to consider stop doing them, because they're putting death into you.
How's that working for you?
Yeah. That was a phrase I always asked Ed when he was doing something so many years. I'd say, how's that working for you, Ed? Because I wouldn't say, don't you realize your first natural thing was, well, you idiot, don't you know what? Whatever you want to say, you don't do that though. You stop yourself, because it isn't that we don't think the same things other people think. But you have to stop them. They only take on life when? When do they take on their life? When you spoke them. Because that's when you gave them life. You can think it. And see, so many people say, you should be thinking that. Thinking it is not the sin. Thinking it, we're going to have thoughts, because the enemy talks to us all the time. And TV, anything else, these things are talking to us all the time, right? Even when they're not here, they're around us and we're reading things, that's speaking to us. And if we don't stop them and say, nope, I'm not taking that in, or if somebody's talking, even when they're talking, you don't have to come and say, nope, you're wrong. You just have to go in your mind, don't receive that. Because we can see, people forget we do self-talk. Then the world will tell us, well, if you're talking to yourself, you're crazy. No, you have self-talk. That you're going to hear in the Spirit. You're going to have a voice inside of you that's speaking to you. And the enemy speaking to you, all kinds of voices. And you're going to have to realize, I'm not receiving that. But if you don't realize those things are happening to you, if you didn't realize you could hear the voice of God, which people don't at first, they go, really? God talks to you? God is talking all the time. The radio waves are on all the time around us. We can't feel them, but God is speaking. And what we have to do is we have to do what? We have to listen. We have to tune into, okay, I'm not hearing him. I've got to get back. And what did Jesus do? He got away. you have to almost move away from whatever you're doing. Go to another room, take a drive, take a walk. How many times you just feel like you're overwhelmed inside your body and you feel like you're inundated or something? You're just feeling mushed in or darkness. You can feel, after a while, you can start sensing things are happening to you. And what does that tell you? That's a clue to do what?
Take a break.
Take a break. Do something. Stop doing what you're doing. When Ed gets so upset, I say, Ed, when you're starting to get upset about what you're working on or things are getting frustrated, and you can start to feel that tension, and he's going, oh man, I go, okay, stop. And he used to say, that doesn't work. I go, and he learns it does. You have to, when you start getting that, you've got to allow yourself to say, uh-oh, I'm getting off track here. We've got to allow ourselves to see that. Because until we can see that we're getting off track or we're hearing the wrong thing or we're around the wrong people, we won't do anything about it. You just kind of go with it. And then you're wondering why you're getting worse and worse and more frustrated. And any of us probably by now would know certain people build you up when you're around them. They give you energy, even if they're not saying, hey, way to go. Something about being in their presence builds you at peace, has you calm, and you feel better when you leave. On the other hand, you go around people, it's just like, oh man, just like somebody dumped a pail of hot, cold water on you. So, ugh. You know, or you feel down and depressed and you leave and you're like, what the heck was that? And see, we got to realize that, don't we?
Brady Ministries International is a nonprofit 501c3 organization. Your tax-deductible donations may be sent to the address on our website, edbradyradio.com, edbradyradio.com. Thanks, and may God bless you for your support and for your prayers.
Ed Brady.